Okay, so what we've got now is we're going to take the whole deck, all of the deck, the numbered cards, the major arcana, the face cards, and finally, you get to shuffle them all together, and we are playing with full deck. What I'm going to do is do a lot of camera cuts in this video where I will show you the layouts piece by piece. Probably come back to a screen share at some point. This is going to be the most difficult video of all of them that I've made so far. So bear with me. I'm still learning all this tech stuff. And I think that I now have my deck, at least the Crowley Tooth deck, is all nice and shuffled. You seriously don't have to put a whole lot of effort into how you shuffle. As long as you put a lot of time into it, your cards will be random enough. Now, when you're doing a reading for another person, sometimes people like to pass the deck off and say, oh, here, shuffle this. I will go into in another video why that happens, okay? Why people will do that. The short answer is dramatic flair, okay? But the long answer is more esoteric than that. And again, if you have been watching this series, you'll know that esoteric has a lot to do with my philosophy. So let's get on with the very first screen cut. I think I'm done shuffling these enough. All right. Okay, so I've laid out the cards here in the Tree of Life layout. This is the deck here. And so, of course, I've laid them out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I did not lay down Dayoth because we would get to that later. I'd like to interpret the whole layout before I go into the Dayoth card. Now, a lot of people ask me, what do you do with reversed meaning cards? Does that reverse the meaning of the actual card if it turns up upside down? And I will tell you this, no. Because if you take this deck here and you turn it like this, you have obviously changed your entire reading 100%. That's silly. That's probably not going to happen. What does it mean to have a reversed card? Not much. It means you should turn them around so that they look right to you so that you can actually interpret it. The one exception to that rule that I will put out there is when a single card is out of whack with the rest of the layout, or when it jumps out of the deck and says, hey, pay attention to me. If it comes out upside down, then that's when we will say, hey, oh, it really means something. Okay, so back to the other screen. Okay, so I told you we were going to do a lot of screen cuts here, and this has been a little more complicated than I thought it was going to be. So let's go back to the layout that we had going on, and here's a screen share that we're going to start with here. So this is the layout that you saw me put down on the table, and here we have turned over all the cards. But what I wanted to let you know is that you don't have to turn them all over at once. You can turn them over 3 at a time, which is what I really prefer to do while I'm doing an interpretation, because it helps you kind of compartmentalize the message a little bit. I'll show you what I mean here. So by the magic of the internet, what we've done is taken these cards and scanned them in the same order they were in this photograph. So what we've got here is Kether at the top. And in Kether, we have the 3 of Wands. And that is, in this deck, I believe they call that Strife. But what I like to see it as is fire in the 3rd sphere, which is kind of more of an oomph than strife. It's more work, push forward, kind of physical energy. So we have this card at Kether, which means it's at the crown of the layout. So with that, we have to actually look at it in relation to these other 2 cards, which of course are in Hesed here and Binah there. So what we see is that this strife card, this push forward, is kind of an ordained thing from the divine energy. The universe wants me to be here. I am in my place. With the Prince of Discs and the Cruelty card, these two cards bouncing off of each other is telling me that, first of all, it's going to be quite the journey. It's going to be that air plus earth energy of the Prince, plus this Nine of Swords, which in this Crowley deck is called Cruelty, which has a very similar energy to this Three of Wands, but it's a lot closer down to the bottom of the tree. So what these three cards are telling me together is that even though I'm making a lot of, that I'm stepping into a lot of work right now, it's work that I'm supposed to be doing. And not only is it necessary for me to do it, but it's not going to be easy. So that's what those three cards are telling me. As I come down into the second triangle, we get these three cards. Okay, again, we're going back to this reading here. So we've got those three cards right in that space. So we see that the Hermit is in that heart sphere, in the sixth sphere of Teferath. And what that is a reflection of what's going on in the fourth and the fifth. So in the fourth sphere, we have the Princess of Discs. Remember, we had the Prince of Discs right above her. So we have the Princess of Discs over here, which is Earth on Earth. And it is in the sphere of the Mercy, which is saying that part of this work that I'm supposed to be doing is to take it and put it down in Malkuth, is to ground something, some idea from above. On the other hand, this Four of Swords is saying that there's a gentleness that has to come from thinking this through. I can't just force my way into anything. Considering where it's sitting across from the Princess of Discs, this is also in that sphere of severity, right? That sphere of push, of Mars, of heavy duty work. But look at that. It's a nice calm energy from the four. You have to bring all those components together when you consider the 10 card spread or the 11 card spread at the end. Right now it's only 10. So now we look at the Hermit and Teferath. And when you have any of the major arcanas in the Teferath spot, it really is a exclamation point in the reading. It's kind of saying that the Hermit is a really big energy in the whole layout. When you look at the whole layout itself, that Hermit is the central card. So he's telling me that the way through. Now remember, we also have to remember the Hermit is, where did we put him? He's right here. It's said to Teferath, right? And he is a Teferath card in Teferath. So the Hermit is saying, all is well. Don't worry about all this work. It is ordained. It is where you're supposed to be. It is the comfy spot. It is apparently your place in the world to do this work. So look at these 6 cards here. This nice big circle is talking about how energy comes down, and it's coming down through these discs over here, and it's coming up through these swords over here. That's an interesting pattern, right? Grounding and thought. But let's look at the bottom of the layout. Okay, so here we have 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I will swear to you that I did not intentionally put this 10 of discs at the bottom. But I'll tell you what, if you're going to have a card at the very bottom, the 10 of discs is the bottom card. It is Earth. It is 10. It is grounded in Malkuth. So this whole reading, when we look at it as the grand scale, from the strife card at the top to the Hermit in the center. Oh, look, here's another major arcana in the middle pillar, the Star card, down to the worlds. This is a pretty interesting pattern we see because it's a pretty strong message that all is going as it's supposed to be going. When we see that completion card, this is the Four of Wands. And the Four of Wands, I really don't like much of the labels that they give the fours in the Crowley Toth deck. The Four of Wands is kind of more like we saw this Four of Swords up here. Ooh, maybe I didn't shuffle this deck so well. But the Four of Wands in this spot is also saying that as long as we do what we can with love in our heart, we will get it done. This is kind of like the get her done card, right? But it's getting it done with a particular gentleness, with a particular kindness, and a need to be compassionate. And of course, we have the Two of Cups on this side, which again is reflecting that message of compassion. Bringing the Star into the ninth house is saying that whatever this work is something that is always been a goal and has a nice flow to it if I can just keep with it. It's a matter of keeping my own balance. And it seems that it will manifest in, well, not physical wealth, but some sort of benefit. And I want to point out again, we have that nice Tree of Life layout in that 10 of Discs card. So let's talk about Daoth. So Daoth is this sphere right here in the middle that seems to be a little bit different than the rest. And it really is a lot different than the rest. First of all, it was a later addition to the tree, but mostly it's because Daoth is where you get to when you have made it past Cather. It's called knowledge. It's like knowing everything there is to know in the universe. That's what Daoth stands for. So the card we laid down in our reading for Daoth is this lovely fellow here. And you'll see in the layout that this hits right in the center of the whole tree. Okay, so now we're going to turn over the Daoth card. And that's just the next card on the top of the deck. We're going to put it up here in this hole. And this Daoth card is the Prince of Wands. Now you can imagine the Prince of Wands is like the helicopter overview of the whole reading. Daoth is called knowledge on the tree. And it's a later addition to the tree, so it doesn't really mean a whole lot in context. It really means much more out of context. So if I can 3D this thing for you, it's like Daoth is hanging up here, okay? So when we look at the whole layout and we interpret it with that Prince of Wands card in the center, the Prince of Wands is motion with air. It is thought and it is pushing forward, and it tells me that this is this plan that started up here with this Three of Wands and ends with the 10 of Discs is not only where I'm supposed to be, but it will also not leave me alone until I do the thing. This is a motivational card if there ever was one. So now you've seen the 11 card spread. You've seen every card in the tarot deck. You have had the tarot cheat sheet explained in every detail. The only thing left now for you to do is practice. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, well, you know, I took your class 3 or 4 years ago and I haven't used my cards since, so I've forgotten everything that you taught me. And it's like any other skill. The more you use it, the better you get at it. So get out there and practice you with your tarot. And this will conclude the end of tarot class. And thank you very much for tuning in. And I hope you come back for whatever it is I'm teaching next. All right. Take care. Bye bye.